Will there be a sliding scale for low-income individuals and families? Yes, there will be a scale. It is a proposed scale at this time, okay? You'll see that low-income supplemental grants liability will be determined after startup. Okay? So we are looking at that. That's just those proposed fees, depending on how much money we can raise, what kind of grants we can get, what kind of support we get from the community. But we are diligently looking at our goal is to reach $60,000 a year for that. That's approximately what the Y was raising to supplement low income. So that's what we're looking at. And we're going to use those guidelines down there. Those were effective in the state of Iowa as 2020 income guidelines, and that's kind of what we'll base this on going forward. Will you take Silver Sneakers and Silver Medicare supplement plans? Absolutely, we will. Understand that Silver Sneakers is a little problematic in the fact that we don't get revenue unless people come to the facility. We get it paid based on a daily usage of the facility. So if somebody signs up for Silver Sneakers and we count them as a unit and they only come once a month, we're not going to meet our financial responsibilities. So we're going to have to work out those details. Okay, but we are going to take it. We will have that capability of taking it. Will county residents pay more and why? Yes, we're still in negotiations with the county. So we're not sure what's going to happen there. Their standpoint is softened a little bit. So we'll see what happens. They're negotiating. I'm kind of staying out of that. Will there be discounts for veterans? We've covered that, yes. If I pay the franchise fee, why isn't it free to the public? I visited Perry and Jefferson this past week. I went up and talked to their directors to get some do's and don'ts and some insight as to how they finance and how they do their operating. Both Perry and Jefferson are subsidized by the city. They both have budget line items. Andre's eyes lit up. They're both subsidized by the city to the tune of about somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000 in that vicinity. Their employees are city employees and are not a part of their overhead structure. That's why their fees are lower. We are not going to do that. This facility has to be self-sustaining. We can't go to the city and put $250,000 as a line item into the budget. So that's why our fees are a little bit higher. We have more facilities than Jefferson. Perry is a pretty fancy facility, pretty nice. Perry does not have a pool. Okay, that contrary to what everybody's saying, they are not building a pool. Jefferson, sorry, Jefferson is not building a pool. Perry has a pool, sorry. Be surprised at people in Perry too. But Jefferson doesn't have a pool, but they have proposed to build one. They have $850,000 donation from somebody that passed away, left them an endowment. But that's only about a third of what they need. The director up there told me it was $3.2 million for a new addition pool. So he goes, and we're going to raise the money because the city won't bond for it. So it's not really apples to apples. I got some pretty good dues, what kind of software to use, that kind of thing, what kind of equipment to get. They told me that if we want equipment, I better order it the minute the bond issue passes, because it takes about a year to get it. So, but I've also checked places that say they have them in stock and can ship immediately. So we'll get that figured out. That's down the road. And we have 2 years to get it done. Discounts for veterans and first responders. You can read through that, but that will include fire, police, sheriff, veterans, active and veterans and active military, since we have a lot of active military here in Boone. Any questions about the fees? I gotta stop that.
Too close to.
It's because I pointed it this way, and Justin usually sits at the table.
Oh, do you want me to sit at the table?
No, you're fine. Sit wherever you want to. Any questions? Yeah.
Will the monthly fee also cover classes, or will that be?
Yeah, we're working on that. In Jefferson, everything's extra. Well, and that's why their fees are a little bit lower. We have to find out if our independent contractors and what we can work out for that. But we're hoping that classes will be included, at least some of them. Maybe not some specialty classes, but most of the classes, yeah. Yes, sir.
The county residents paying about $100 a year more if they paid the $10 extra per month.
Right.
The franchise fee, and what you stated in some of the literature you put out, about $4 a month, so that's about 50. So the county residents that use it are going to be double.
Now, yeah,
Or is there other?
those numbers were based on $190 per month for utility bill. I would love to pay $190 a month, as would most everybody else in town. So I think, given what's happened to energy prices and stuff, that average is probably a little bit higher.
Okay, so the gap is close.
Yeah, it's also kind of a prod to get outside
And
participation.
then Boone, it already has a 1% franchise fee. So that would-
Yes, that was in place before I got on council. I don't know what year that went into place. Do you?
The gas was 1992 and the electric was 2014.
The gas one was
1992,
1992, and the other one was what?
2014.
So what
2014.
was the purpose for enacting those? Was it like the Boone Pool or the middle school, Franklin?
You know what that money was designated for? It goes into the general fund, right?
It goes into the general fund. The one back in 1992, I do not know. The one in 2014, there's a long list of what that was used for.
That's pretty much.
Yeah, there is no
Now,
sunset.
The 2%, does
Mhm.
that have to go to the Iowa Utilities Board once this is voted in favor of or not, or can it just be through the vote of the people?
It actually does not have to go to the vote of the people unless there's a petition. And this is not an increase to Alliant or to your gas or utility bill per Alliant, so it doesn't go to the Iowa Utilities Board. It is actually a vote of the council.
Okay, so if a person lives in the county, they have clear lines drawn already, so.
Yeah,
won't
they
be
don't-
paying that fee.
They won't pay
Correct.
it.
They'll just pay it in the form of if they use the facility.
Right,
A little
Correct.
more. Okay.
right. Any other fee questions? You guys are easier than Kiwanis was today.
Tough one.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You've heard all these questions over and over. A couple of myths that we've been hearing is, Child Watch was never, they said that we pulled some of the, facilities out, or some of the things that we had promised everybody out of the facility. We've never done that. I can show you the original design concept of that facility. Child Watch was never part of it. A rock wall was never part of it. Well, but they're saying we pulled them out and we didn't. So I just wanted to make that clear. If somebody says that to you, please correct them because it's not true. We never did. Yes, sir.
I'll just add to yours is what you did on one of the meetings was everybody put on this list, your wish.
Right.
Your wish list.
Right.
And then you would discuss them. And you, after discussion, you decide what was feasible, what wasn't. So I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's addressed in that information lit drop that we did on the 27th. It says November 18th, wants, and it lists everything that we could put in and that we couldn't. Public restrooms, that was just a misunderstanding. I don't think anyone believed in their right mind that we would build a $10 million facility without locker rooms and restrooms. Public restrooms, when they said that, meant open to the public. And that was never going to be part of this facility. There was no way for us to monitor people coming in to use the restroom and then not wandering off and using the facility. Public restrooms built on the outside of the building were never an option either, due to the problems that we have at the park department with restrooms, the problems we had here at City Hall with public restrooms. So it was never part of this program. We never considered it. Staff didn't want anything to do with it. And if we would have done it, we would have had to put probably institutional grade, like prison tamper-proof type of fixtures and stuff, and that's very expensive. Never part of it. This bond issue does not affect your property taxes. I'm still getting that on occasion. I got a message yesterday from somebody said, "Why are you raising my property taxes?" We are not raising your property taxes. They're actually going down in July.
No, next year.
Next year.
Yep.
So they're going down. We are not raising your property taxes. It will not affect that. I cannot speak for the school board or DMAC or the hospital or anybody else. All I can do is speak for the city. So if your taxes go up, if your levy rates go up, check your bill, find out who it is and go to them. Okay. These are conceptual drawings and subject to change as the design process proceeds. The major features will remain: gymnastics pool, hot tub, wave pool, track, etc. Understand these are conceptual drawings. We're getting some heat about how fancy it is. And we talked about, I just got done talking to the architect about some exterior design changes, that stuff that may be a little less expensive than some of this high-fi stuff that they put in there. Got to understand, most architects like to see their name up in lights, right? Then we got to get back to the practicality of the situation too. So we'll do that during the design phase. And you guys will have input too. Okay. We'll have several more of these meetings after the bond issue passes. Locker rooms and bathrooms, already did that. In the pool area, they weren't shown. We had always planned on having something there. Got the architects to be a little more specific on what was going to go in that area, but there will be rinsing stations outside on the pool area, but there will also be showers and changing rooms that are available to the pool, along with lockers too. I just emailed the architect about that as well to see if they were included. So lockers are included. The other question is, what happens to the $2 million if the bond issue fails? We forfeit the $2 million. It goes back to Fairway. Just the way it was set up. So. Questions on that? Any other questions on anything? Yes, sir.
On the facility itself, first off, the square footage on retail space was about 1,000 square foot, is that right?
Yeah, it's closer to 8.
So if they broke that down on how much per square foot they're going to charge.
Had the architect broke that down?
Yeah, as far as.
Yeah, retail spaces.
That is some maybe additional income for the facility.
Right, retail space is, this type of retail space is very, very cheap. It's about $145 a square foot. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what he told me. The pool area is the expensive area.
Sure.
I think it's $235, $25, something like that. We haven't broken it down minutely like that, but that's the expensive area.
Now, with that spaces, would that be comparable to the downtown buildings that everyone's?
It's a little bit higher.
Should be, it's a new facility.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher and high profile. We have a couple of agencies that are looking to move in there. The hospital has expressed interest. Another youth services agency has expressed interest. I don't see that as being retail space, more like programming, doctor's offices, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It's all positive to that.
Yeah.
To the downtown. It's all positive.
And get Tony to open up a therapy and
There you go. Not retire.
not retire. Then keep him away from Tom, so Tom doesn't. Yeah,
Good choice.
so, yeah, that retail space is a little more expensive than downtown, and it should be.
Yes.
But we're about $1.50 a square foot. In Des Moines, they're $14 a square foot. Pretty cheap. In the scheme of things. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Well, I just wondered, the franchise fee, is that just stay on, or is that strictly for paying off the,
I met with Rotary in Kiwanis this week, and they asked all three groups that I met with asked that same, very same question. And I'll give you the same answer I gave them. In 15 years, when the bond is done, I will not be on city council. Okay, so our intent is to roll that off when the bond issue is paid for. That 2% franchise fee will roll off. But with that said, that will be up to a vote of the council at that time. Okay, so for all you young people here, David, not me. When that time comes, you need to come to council and hold them accountable. Right?
well, then I wondered too, well, so if the, well, you know, the fees don't cover the maintenance, the salaries, all that, I mean, is there going to be a problem there? Or?
I wish I could tell you that. Based on the historical data and the numbers that we ran, that shouldn't be an issue, but I can't guarantee that won't be an issue. But we will have money. When can we pay off the bond?
7 years is the callable date.
7 years is the callable date for the bonds, which means we can't pay it off for 7 years. So we'll have money sitting in that account, money that we raise sitting in that account. So if we should have to do that, we can pull that out for operational fees. It just means that we won't be able to make as big a payment on the bond when it does come due. I built into that process about $135,000 in our budget to cover the shortfalls starting out, because I knew starting out we would probably be short until we establish ourselves and people get used to the facility and want to use it. So it's built in there. Yes, sir.
The county,
Mhm.
I know they're, so far have not made a commitment.
Mhm.
Have they led you to believe they would make a commitment, yes or no, before the vote, so that if they decide they're going to help, that the people in the county can assist in the voting of the yes or the no? Or are they gonna come after the vote and say, we're gonna pick yes or no?
Well, either way, we would take it,
Well, I know.
but,
But you might-
yeah, it would be nice if they would come ahead of time and tell us that.
Yes.
It would just be a good faith effort on their part. I can't tell you that because I'm not involved in those negotiations. The statement that I made about the county and the local option sales tax and all that good stuff at one of these meetings took me out of that conversation.
It just comes down to a point of, you know what, or get off the pot on making a decision for them. Because it does affect the county residents if they come along and say May 1st and say, here's what we're gonna do. Well, the individuals who might have voted yes or no didn't have a say because they're not.
Right, and I'd like to tell you what those negotiations are, but I really don't know. I believe they're looking at recovery money, act money that the federal government has backed off of their stringent guidelines of how you can use that money.
If they were to, would that affect the fees at all?
Yes,
It would, okay.
absolutely. They participated in it, absolutely.
Okay.
Certainly, yes.
He's asking
I'll get to
county
see.
residents.
Not a vote.
And as I understood it, they couldn't vote anyway.
No, county cannot vote.
But if it's county money and it's gonna be a county project, they could vote, is that correct? Or not?
I don't know if they have to go to vote on that.
School board.
It's a city vote.
I don't think they have to go to a county vote.
The vote is actually to give us authorization to go out for bond.
Okay, and that would be affected by city.
Yeah.
Yes, not county.
Not-
Correct.
The only thing that would affect was, if they donated $500,000, let's just say, for a number. That's not a number. Right? It's optimistic number, I'd like to see that. Whatever they donated, if it was sufficient enough to cover the cost of the bond, the duration of the bond, and what we would have to charge the county residents, we would reduce them down to city
Might
residents.
knock it down to 40.
Absolutely.
Instead of 50.
Absolutely,
Okay, good.
would do that. It's the only fair way to do it. Susan, did you have something?
If I remember correctly, at Rotary of the Night, you spoke about 24/7 access, and I'm curious how that discussion, how that decision came
I
about.
ran that by the architect too. He's been getting an earful from me. Our Nautilus machines and our track and our cardio machines are on the second floor. If we can isolate second floor, might be able to do that. If we reconfigure or something, or come up with a way we can redo that, we might be able to do that. I can't guarantee that until we get into the design phase, but I think we can isolate second floor.
Is there a
What was
cost
the question?
analysis, just with the 24/7 access, how that decision was made? Is that something that is in the budget and what we consider safe and secure and staff-wise, viable for how many people would use it between the hours of like midnight and 5
We haven't
p.m.?
done a viability study on it, and if we're gonna even consider it, and if it's no cost consideration, then it's a no-brainer. If it's a cost consideration, then we'll have to hold meetings and see how many people would use it, or do something like try to find out how many people would use a 24-hour Exodus. I've had maybe 3 or 4 comments on that. None here. I've never had anybody say anything about that here until just now. But it's a distinct possibility. Perry did that. They just now did that. Because they had a theater at one time in there that seated 250 people or something. And they filled that in. It's in the front of the building. They filled that in, and that's where their cardiac and Nautilus stuff is now, and they have outside access. So it's completely isolated from the rest of the building. Naturally, we can't have anybody in the pool area or in the administrative areas and classrooms and stuff like that unattended. So with no staff present. So this depends on the viability of
Or
that.
the liability.
Absolutely.
That's the bigger issue about how much it's worth between midnight and 5 a.m. to staff it and the liability you ensue with the equipment, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's more early morning hours, and I don't think people go out there at 1 in the morning and exercise. If they're out there at 1 in the morning, they're probably up to something else. And the problem with that is too, how do we keep people from fobbing in 3 or 4 people, their buddies to do it? To use it, so we'll take a look at it. I can't promise you anything. Good questions, yes, sir.
When is there going to be more of an announcement about some paper donors? I've heard rumors of one, but I haven't heard anything public about it.
We really want to pass the bond first before we really go aggressively after that. A lot of the donors don't want to be known until after the bond passes.
This came from California. I
Oh,
mean,
really?
that's where I heard it from. Somebody in California
Oh,
called me and
have her call me.
and asked. So some rumors are going around anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of rumors going around. When somebody hands me a check or hands Andrea a check, and we'll dispel those rumors. But until that time, a lot of the donors are kind of waiting to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I understand that. So, yes.
Okay, Fairway stepped up with 2 million if it passes.
Mhm.
If after the bond passes, one of these, another big donor comes along, let's just use Hy-Vee. And they say we will give them $1 million.
You say Hy-Vee.
Why, just say, let's just use them as an example. Just threw it out there.
Sure.
You know, there could be.
Sure, it could happen.
Daymonian. who knows?
Absolutely.
But let's say another large contribution comes in. Is that going to be used to again lower the franchise fee, or is it going to be to add to the services of the facility? Since you passed a $10 million bond.
I think I know the answer to that, but Bill, would you like to elaborate on that? You want me to answer it, and then you can tell me I'm wrong.
Go ahead.
Okay. If, say someone came in with another $2 million donation, or we accumulate $3 million, okay? Staff would take a look at that and see what the viability of it is. And if we could, we would lower it another %. Is that right or not?
We would certainly look at it.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be just, oh, goody, goody, we can add to.
Well, the nice thing about this is, if we did that, we would build a depreciation fund fairly rapidly. Okay, and that's an important factor in this. Yeah, because, you know, a new facility will probably run pretty maintenance free for 2 or 3 years. But then who knows? You know, we take out an air handler or something like that, that could be a $500,000 project. So we need to have that money in reserves just in case, yes. So, and what we do a study at that end of that period of time to see what kind of viability we have and how much we can pay down on the bond and so forth. But if we need that money, it'll be there. So, Tony.
As a county resident and this committee member, I had a little discussion with Boone County Supervisor, Steve Bell. And I'm not in the know of the city and the county. I'm a resident speaking from more of a health standpoint. And I found him quite receptive to the concept, and that he really did a really good job of this. And I know there's lots of details that you're aware of, or the city or the county, but I was impressed that he was very interested in listening to maybe answering some of his questions, and the concept for the county, the concept for the people of the county. But he also has to represent his people, which are the county. So it was,
His
I didn't get a
his
no.
people are all of us.
What's that?
His people are all of us.
True.
And 60% of the population of the county live in Boone, Ogden, and Madrid. So he not only represents the people in the county, but he represents the people in these cities. And I think they're realizing that now. And that's why that position is softening a little bit. So like I said, I'm staying out of that. I'm not a part of those negotiations. That's going on behind the scenes. I've only been on council for a little over 2 years, so I don't have much history with them. So I don't know what the history is there, or what's going on.
Right.
I'm hoping that they come around and jump in on this. I think Fairway donation helped when they saw what kind of participation Fairway was having. I think as the other donations and stuff come in and people start donating, that I think maybe they'll jump on that wagon. I hope so.
Yeah, and conceptually, we support of all of Boone County.
Right.
And if you know any of the 3 supervisors, call them, talk.
Yeah, that's our best avenue to get them to change their minds, if they hear from enough people in a respectful and decent manner. Not gonna get too far if you call and start yelling at them. But yeah, talk to them.
Can I jump in a minute on
The one question about the big donors before the vote. You know, I guess I'd like to hear more input on it, because I know I've visited with Terry about that, and we've got our big $2 million from Fairway. My question is, should we be looking for more donors before that, so it looks like we've got stronger support or a broader background of people or companies going for this? Or does that kind of, I don't want to say, steal some of the thunder from Fairway, because we're very grateful. I mean, that we got that start, but I guess I'm interested in what other people think. Does that make sense to try and open that up before the March 1st? Or should we wait and then when it goes through, get it more? Any comments on that?
I think it actually would make Fairway feel better.
To
If
have-
people,
I thought it was
if others
sad.
jumped in because they did, because they're showing faith in their community.
Yeah.
Even a $1,000 donation, whatever, if that could help bring some of the costs down or solidify the financial base, because I know out in the city and the county, a lot of the concerns are, will it be financially viable? Fairway, they took a big step. It's like, here, now follow our lead, is what I look at it as. So I would say everything that can be done before that March 1st vote to generate more enthusiasm from contributions would help that vote.
And see, that's, I thought, you know, the more we have, the stronger support we have for that. It looks like, yes, there's just that larger group supporting, but that's kind of where we discussed on
Yeah,
which way would be the best approach.
couple of problems with that is we're 11 days out.
Yeah. You're very time limited here.
And you can ask my wife, I haven't had much free time in the last week.
Just ask the mayor if he's got anything else in the pocket.
He might, I'm hoping,
hoping.
we were hoping that we would have another major announcement before now, but they just haven't pulled the trigger. They're waiting to see if the bond issue passes. And one of the reasons why they wait is because if they come out and support it now, the people that don't support it, you know, they're running a business. So they have to be careful. Fairway is big enough and have stores spread out everywhere that it doesn't affect them. Other ones do. So I think that's why they're waiting. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I wish we had a couple more weeks to get it done. But Linda can be chair of the committee if you want.
11 days left.
Yeah, 11 days.
It's over.
All you gotta do is raise $1 million in 11 days. That's not a big deal.
I thought at one of the meetings you said there was a committee working on big donors that we would hear more about before the election.
There is a committee working on donors and grants. We can't get anybody to pull the trigger yet. It's not, we're working on it. It's in the works, but it just won't pull the trigger. Once the bond issue passes, we have some plans, right, for fundraising and stuff afterwards. I'm tapping some resources out of DMAC and what they did out of DMAC when they raised a lot of money for that new facility out there. And we're gonna follow that pattern. And I think it's a pretty good plan of attack. So this is ongoing. We're gonna fundraise this entire time. We have 2 years. So we're gonna keep fundraising. Keep applying for grants, keep applying for, and I lost for words, but other grants and other revenue streams, yes.
The Fairway,
Mhm.
the convention center, or whatever, Fairway.
Right.
The athletic facility, Fairway. Is there some rights, let's say, that are gonna go with that 2 million or somewhere in the building? I mean, it would make sense. If
At $2 million, I would say yes.
I would say, yeah.
Right.
So,
Because I always said if somebody wanted to donate $2 or $3 million, they can name whatever they want.
people come into town, they'll know this is
Well, you know, the green space is Fairway too. They were our big donor. They came through for us.
I'm sure Hy-Vee does that down here.
Yeah, and if you go to some other big towns where they have one major industry or business, everything's
Yes.
down. And that's good. They're investing in the community, so,
Contribution should give them
sure.
a little special.
So, like I said, I wasn't part of those negotiations, but I would imagine that's part of the deal. And Bill's confirming that, so yes, it will be the Fairway Recreation and Wellness Center, or whatever they want to call it. So. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I'm assuming that private donations will not be tax deductible, but it'd be nice if they were. Is there any way for that to happen?
Yeah, they would be tax
They'd be tax
deductible.
They are,
Mhm.
Sure, we're a nonprofit, city's a nonprofit.
okay.
I was hoping so, because I'm gonna write a check.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Will the staff be city employees or will they be part of an outside organization?
Good question. City employees are planned right now. We've had some input on that, and most people feel like they want to have somebody hired here that has a vested interest in this community, wants to see it better, knows what the community, some of the community needs are. We have to get the right person with the right qualifications, but hopefully that person exists here in Bloom. So yeah, we're gonna try to keep local, yes. Anything else? Thought I saw somebody pop their hand up. That's it? Quick, okay. If you want to stick around a little bit, Tony's gonna give you an update on the YES committee. And I'll tell you what's gonna go happen afterwards with fundraising and stuff like that, what we have planned. After the bond issue passes, what we have planned for fundraising events and stuff like that. And a thank you event for all you people that have come to these meetings so diligently and